Before we dive straight into the apps, I've just got some information to go through about Power Automate. This session is, there's going to be a focus on one, what we call flow, but Power Automate is a really powerful application which can be used with lots of the Microsoft applications, and also there's all sorts of add-ins from third-party apps as well. So you can use Power Automate with Microsoft Forms. Today we look at Microsoft Planner, SharePoint Pages, SharePoint Lists, Outlook, Teams, lots of different applications. So what is Power Automate? It's this tool that allows you to automate processes from a trigger or an event. I just said it connects to lots of different applications. And behind each of those automated processes, there's something called a flow. So you can see on this screenshot here, this is the flow that we're going to create today. And it's just got 5 steps. But flows can be really complicated, and you can use them to do all sorts of things just from one trigger. So a couple of examples are an iPad app request, leave requests, tracking induction or staff BD, student ad hoc enrolments, creation and maintenance of staff directories, ICT repairs, making sure people are doing tasks and things like that. It's really powerful. I say it's really powerful, but there is also a lot of work that you need to do before you start creating flows, especially when those processes involve more than just yourself. So the one we're going to create today is just involving us. But if we were going to create a process flow, for example, for ad hoc enrolments, we might create something that involves lots of different people. So this one here involves the IT team, it involves finance, it involves the grounds team, and it's all running off this first trigger, which is that someone fills out a form because there's a new student coming to the school. So that is our trigger, this form, and then off that, these things are created. And in this example, it could be that 3 different planner tasks are created for 3 different groups of people. And then an email sent in the end to the home group teacher before the student arrives. One other thing to note, because this does come up a bit with Power Automate, is that everyone should have access to Power Automate, but sometimes you find you don't. So I'm just going to pop this link in here. I don't expect you to check it now, but if when we open up Power Automate you find you can't, it'd be worth checking that link that I've just popped in and checking what your subscription is. If you are corporate and if you're a school, you should have this. If you're a TRT, you might not have access to Power Automate. Depends whether you're attached to a school that's enabled it. So if you get sign-in is required, you don't have access. If you used to have access and you're corporate, you need to log an incident with the help desk. If you're out of school, you need to talk to your IC technician. If you get that error message today, because it's the first time you've tried, and you're corporate, you do need to log a order something ticket for edit. And again, if you're school-based, that might mean that your school hasn't turned it on for you in IDM. That's the back end that manages what apps you can see in Microsoft 365. So again, hopefully today's session is still useful for you, even if you don't have access, but I'll send through that information in a follow-up email so that you can get access as well. Okay, so today's session, we'll be going through basically what I've got in this training summary. So I'll pop that link in there as well for you. So today we need to have access to Power Automate, access to Planner, and then because this flow is working off an email, we also need our email open. So I always like to direct people to the EdPass portal because if you sign in through that, especially if you're a corporate staff member, you'll make sure that you are signed into your Microsoft applications with your @schools email address. So if you haven't already, can you please open up a browser, navigate to the EdPass portal, and the 3 apps we need to open are Planner, which is this lovely green icon here. You can see up here it's changed. Power Automate, that nice arrow kind of symbol, and then your Outlook as well. So I'll just pop that in the chat as well. Open Planner, Outlook, and Power Automate. And you can see I've got those open in 3 tabs up the top there as well. If people, thanks, Sam, you've already given me the thumbs up. If you can just give me a thumbs up when you've got those 3 tabs open in your browser, that would be great, because then we can keep going. So just while people are doing this, I'll just explain a little bit about the flow we're creating. And I will jump into my Outlook to explain that. So quite often you might receive an email, you don't have time to respond straight away, or maybe there is different things that you actually need to do before you can respond to the email. This type of flow you can build just for yourself, or if you've got a shared mailbox, for example, you can connect it to a shared mailbox and build a flow of that as well. So this flow works where if I flag an email, it will then create me a tasking planner. Now, Outlook, when I flag them, automatically creates me a tasking to do. But if I do a flow, I can direct, I've got a bit more control over what I'm creating, where I'm creating these tasks, and what information is in the task. Okay, so hopefully I've got quite a few thumbs up, and hopefully everybody else has had time to get in to or open those 3 apps up. The first app we're going to jump into is our Planner app.
So the one that
now
had Fury.
If you haven't used Planner before, and I'm just going to mute someone. If you haven't used Planner before, Planner is quite a powerful app. If you're a person who loves checking things off, you can use it as a personal checklist, but you can also use it kind of like a planning board, like a Kanban style board. It's a watered down version of project for project management. But you can embed these in teams so that you can have all sorts of people having visibility over what needs to be done and being assigned different things. You can see here, this one here, or these tasks here are assigned to 3 different people, for example. But for today, we're just going to create a new plan, and these emails are our personal emails that we're going to deal with. So we're just going to select new plan down the bottom there. We're just going to do a basic plan. We're not going to add it to a group. we're just going to type in a name so that we remember what it's about. I'm going to call mine training email plan. But you can give your plan any name you'd like. And then we're going to press create. Now, when you create one, it comes in with this to-do bucket. These are called buckets. I can add new buckets as well. Whatever is in here is going to show up in Power Automate when we connect it to Power Automate. So we could add some more buckets like assigned, in progress, things like that if we wanted to. But let's just stick to one bucket. Okay, so we've got our plan. That's what we're going to populate. Now let's hop into Power Automate and start building our flow. So hopefully everyone has managed to access Power Automate. If you haven't, hopefully you'll be able to get access and then follow these steps when you do as well. Okay, Power Automate recently got updated. I say recently, about a year ago, the interface changed completely, but also Copilot is embedded in Power Automate, which is really powerful because before, if you got stuck and you didn't understand all the different steps, it was a minefield looking for help. But Copilot does a pretty good job of working out what you need to do and helping you fix problems. So it's really a big help in Power Automate. Along the left side menu here, we've got a few different things. Under My Flows, if you've never used Power Automate before, there'd be nothing. But there's a couple that are really useful to explore. So templates, let's click into there. Is a whole lot of pre-built templates that you can use and manipulate. And it also gives you some ideas of what kind of processes you might want to automate. Create, if you know what you want to create, you can start from a blank Power Automate as well. So automated from a flow is from a form trigger, for example, or you could have something run every second week or something if you wanted to send out email reminders to people, things like that. But we're going to jump back into templates because for this one, we are just going to adapt a template that is already existing. So I'm going to pop in the chat again what you need to put into the search, because for this one, we're creating a planner task when an email has been flagged in Office 365. So either type that or copy and paste that from the chat. And when I press enter, that's the one we want to adapt. So when you've got that on your screen, if you can select that and then just give me a thumbs up again, so I know we're ready to move on. Just give people another minute. Okay, so I'm going to select that one, and then this brings me to this screen here. Now this tells me what applications this flow is going to use. So Outlook, this here is going to access my information stored in the Microsoft tenancy, and then Planner as well. You need to make sure it's got permissions. So if you don't see a tick for a valid connection, You might need to click on connect. I think that's what happens, or add a new connection, and then just make sure all those are green ticks. Sam, you've got a question.
In terms of your screen, they're all connected to your school's email. Can you have alternate though if we've got an SA Gov
Okay,
account as
so
well?
for your Outlook, yes. So if I was going to be connecting to my team account with my SA Gov email, yes, I could. For this one, no, unless I've got Power Automate in my SA Gov, and then I'd be wanting to work not in my schools, but in my SA Gov. So for my Outlook, yes, I can connect to my SA Gov for that. But for the other things, we want to be working in the same tenancy in our at schools. Sam, you're in August, so you would have an SA Gov, so it would be worth checking whether you got access to Power Automate in your SA Gov if that's where you're working. But we normally recommend that people in education use at schools apart from email. Okay, so hopefully everyone's got ticks, and we can select continue. And then it's created our first flow. Now, for this particular one, we don't have any errors that have come up, which is good. But sometimes when you create something, for example, with a form trigger, you'll get some error messages. That doesn't mean to say we don't want to go in and change these. These are called actions, and you can see we've got pluses where we can add some new actions. And in fact, we are going to add some new actions today. So the first thing we want to do is hop into this first action and have a look at what's going on here. Now, we've got these things called parameters. These are what Power Automate can access and check. I'm just going to select show all. We can, or we should be able to get from an email these bits. The most important one for us, though, is this folder information down here. So the default setting for this flow, this one that's coming in, is that when we tick an email that's in our inbox or flag an email that's in our inbox, that's going to trigger that planner action. If I go into there, I'll see all the folders that I've got in my Outlook account. So I could be really clever and not have the inbox be my trigger. It could be if I put something in conversation history, for example, and flag that, then it creates the task in this planner. So I can separate where tasks are created, for example, depending on what inbox or what folder they go into in my Outlook. So again, really handy if you have a shared mailbox and you're wanting to make sure that planner tasks are assigned to the right person, then I would make sure I've got folders for each person in the team, for example, so that when it's flagged in Emma's folder, it creates a task for Emma, for example. Okay, but I'll just keep it, I'll go back. I'll keep it in inbox for today, but just keep in mind that's a really important setting that I could be changing. The next action as well, we don't have to do anything for today. This one here, get my profile, just means it's getting my information from Microsoft so that it can then work with that to create my task. But we do now want to add in a step, and that is we want to add a step that turns what the email has in its body, in the text, into text that we can read without all the coding that comes through the email when it gets sent. So what we need to do is we need to add an action that converts what's called HTML, that's the language that an email is sent through in, back into text that we can understand as English-speaking people. So to do that, we want to click on the plus. Now in here you can see I've got some things favorited. You probably don't have anything favorited, but when you start to build lots of flows, if you're using the same connector or same action all the time, it's worth hovering and favoriting them. But let's put in the search and we want HTML to text in there. I'll just pop that into the chat as well, just in case. That's fine, Bridget. And hopefully we've got it here. Excellent. So we're looking for the one under content conversion, HTML to text. And when I select that, it's coming in here as an action. So I'll do that one more time. So let's delete that. I've added a step. I'm going to search for it. I've come under content conversion and then I can select it and it's come in. Okay, so we need to now tell Power Automate what we want to convert. And when I select in here, in this text box, I get this blue menu pop up. Now, FX is for something called expressions. That's the expression editor. We're not going to use that at the moment. And the lightning strike is for something called dynamic content. What dynamic content is it will allow you to access information that has been got earlier on in the flow. So when I click on that lightning, the dynamic content, you can see I can get stuff from this, my profile, and I can also get stuff from the email. Now I'm going to select C34 more. So when it looks at an email that's come in and that's been flagged, it can get all this information. And if I wanted to, I could put all this in. Now, planners only allow you to have a short amount of text in the description. So if I selected body, for example, that might mean that I get to see a little bit of text, but not the whole lot of text. Or I might get lots and lots and lots of pages of things. So I'm actually going to look for something called the body preview. And that's a shorter version of the email that is generated when an email is sent. So I'm going to select that because that's probably going to give me enough information in my planner task to know what the task is about. So I put that in and you can see because it's dynamic, it's come in as like a little picture tile. And I can see the trigger outputs. That means the stuff that has been got from the email is the body preview. Okay, hopefully everyone has that now, and we've now got the 4 steps in there. Because the next bit is going to be actually creating the task. So let's select create a task. Now, group ID, when we created our plan, we didn't put it in a group. If you did put it in a group, you could find a group. Now, when I refer to group here, I mean a Microsoft Teams. So if it was in a group, I might have my Microsoft Teams pop up there. Power Automate wants you to have a group ID. You can see it's got the star there, but since the update to Planner, this group ID actually isn't used for anything, so you can keep it like it is at the moment with that jumbled text in there. The plan ID, however, we do need to get from Planner so that we can put it into the right plan. So to do that, first of all, I'm going to delete this jumbled text. Then I'm going to select that again, and I'm going to select Enter Custom Value. When I select that, it's going to allow me to copy and paste in some information. So I'll do that one more time. I did the cross to delete. I put my cursor in, and now I'm going to go to Enter Custom Value. Now the custom value we want is information in the URL of the plan. So hopefully you still got your planner open in a tab at the top. We're going to go into there, and then the bit we want are the letters and numbers and symbols in between the / after plan and the / before view. So I'm going to put my cursor in there, and it's going to be fiddly for me, but this is the information that you need. I'm going to highlight that, Control C on my keyboard, and then I can go back to my flow, and my cursor's already in the right spot, and I can do Control V to paste, and then click out. Once you've done that, if you give me a thumbs up as well, so hopefully we're all on the right place. I'm going back to my plan just so people can see that bit of the URL that I need. Okay, looks like most people are following along, so that's good to see. No worries. Okay, so back in my flow, I've got that. Now, the title is what is going to be the name of the task when it comes in. Now, testing isn't very helpful, so I'm going to delete that. And you can see I've got this dynamic content in here again. So if I select the firebolt again, or the lightning strike, I can get in here some information from the email. So it could be that I maybe want the subject, might want to put in a space, a dash, and maybe I want to put in as well who sent it, so from. So that means that every email I receive, when I flag it, the name of the task that appears in Planner will have the subject of the email in there and who sent it. Handy information to have. I've got these advanced perimeters again, so I'm going to click Show All, because this gives me some other things I can do in my task. So the bucket ID, if I do the drop down, providing the plan ID has come in okay, you can see I've got my to-do bucket in there. So I want my first or my task to come into that to-do bucket. The start date time and the due date time. Again, I might want to set these depending on when I receive the email. So to do that, the start date might be when the email was sent. So again, I can select that, go into my firebolt and go down to see more. And I should have in here received time. So that's when I got it and opened it in my inbox. Now the due date. I probably don't want the receive time as the due date, otherwise it's coming in and I've got to do it straight away. So for this one, we are going to use that bottom, which is the expression. Now again, since they've put in Copilot into Power Automate, it makes it a lot easier. Expressions are a little bit like formulas in Excel. You've got to understand the language to be able to write them, or you used to. But now, because they put in Copilot, we can explain to Power Automate what we want to happen, and it will create the expression for us. First of all, though, we need to tell it what we're going to work off. So I want for this one that the due date is set a week after I've received the email. So I'm going to select my dynamic content first because it's going to work off the received time. Because I know it's called received time, I can put in the search. There it is, received time. And then you can see that's come in this top box for me. That's the thing that I'm working with, the data that I'm working with. I can now select create an expression with Copilot. And up here, I can put in what I want. So I want the due date to be 7 days after the receive date. So I can pop that in. I'll put that in the chat as well, just in case. So I've given it instructions. I can then select create expression, and Copilot will then give me something that it thinks is okay. Now, because I don't trust AI completely, and you never should, I'm going to look at that expression and double check that it's doing what I think it should do. So add days, that's pretty, that's what it's going to call this expression. Trigger outputs is still the received date time. And look, it's added a 7. That's my 7 days after. So I don't have to know everything about expressions, but looking at that, I can work out enough to know that that looks pretty good. It's got the right number in there. It's got the right bit of data. It looks pretty good. So I'm going to check it and then go OK. And then I need to select that add down the bottom as well for it to come in. So you'll now see that one's pink, different from the other ones that have come in, and it's got that FX for expression in front as well. Okay, I could, if I wanted to, use these tags and those kinds of things. I'm not going to at this stage. I am just going to leave it at that. And at this point, I am going to go ahead and save my flow so that I've got it saved at this point. So we want to select save. Now, if you've got any errors in Power Automate, I think I mentioned earlier, it won't let you save. So that's where, again, we've got Copilot on the side. If it won't let you save, that's where you can put in a question and hopefully it will help you resolve it. Okay, so we've got our email in the inbox. When it's flagged, it will convert the email preview body to text and it's going to create a task. The only information at the moment that we've got in the task is it's going to give it the subject and who sent it, and it's going to do some due dates for me as well. We want a little bit more than that though, because we want this body preview in there to give us information about what the task is about or what the email was about. So we are going to now add another step, and that's to update this task that we just created. So we're going to select the plus again. I'm going to put in the search update task. I'll pop that in the chat as well. And look, I've got all these things from Planet in there, and the one I want is update task details. So that then has this field called description, and that's where I can put in my body. So hopefully everyone has got that step in there. Just give people a moment to catch up if they haven't. Okay, so update task details. The first thing we need to put in there is the task ID. We're going to get that from this previous step, the create a task, because we don't want it to create lots and lots of tasks. I'm clicking in here. It's not going to give me what I want. I need to go to enter custom value. And then that's going to give me, it's a bit hidden on my screen, but it's going to give me that menu again. And now I can select from that dynamic content. So I'll show you again, because I don't think this is very user-friendly, but I'm going to click in task ID. I can't get it from the drop-down. I'm going to select enter custom value. And then hidden away on the side, I've got those two different options, and I'm going to select the lightning bolt that you can just make out, so I can get this information from further up in the flow. So the one I want is created by user ID, I think. Let's check. No, it's the ID of the task. That's the one we want. In the description field, that's where we can put in that thing that we worked out in the HTML to text. So again, because it's information from further up the flow, I'm going to select this dynamic content. This time I want from, I'm going to type in HTML, and it's not showing for me. That's no good. Here it is, HTML. And the one we want to put in there is the plain text content. Okay, so I'll do that one again, just in case, like me, you couldn't see it. I've clicked into the description, I've gone to the lightning, and I couldn't see it for looking. So I typed in HTML, it still didn't come up. But it is here. So if you can't see it, if you put in the plain text, it should pop up for you. Okay, let's just check the advanced perimeters. It's always nice to see that. Add checklist, add references. So the checklist is the different items. So we could add in, I don't know, check email content. We could add send placeholder, email, etc. We could add different things that are going to be created when we do the text. So we can do that from there as well. Okay, I think we have just about got to the end of building our flow. So the next thing we need to do is actually test it. So again, I'm going to go up and save my flow. Phew, it's green. Hopefully yours is all green as well. And then I can do a test. So not so much with this one, but for things like forms where you don't want to have to put in a form and submit it every time you want to test your flow, you've got these manual or automatic. So if you've tested it before, you should be able to select the option automatically test. Because this is a brand new one, we can only select manually. So let's select that. We're going to select test, and then this is going to sit there until we've actually done something. So this is where we now need to go into that third tab that we've got open, which is our Outlook. Now, if you decided to change the mailbox from inbox to another folder, you'll need to hop into that other folder. But now if I go in and flag this email, for example, and then I hop back into my Power Automate. Oh, did I forget to press the test? Hang on, I might have forgot to press test. Let's try again. Manual test. Go back in, flag an email, and then hopefully it has worked. Okay, so very puzzling. Did anyone else's flow create a second flow and delete some tasks for them? No? Okay. I'm going to test this one again. Here's what happened. Try to add checklist, sanitize with the check for missing a required name. Okay. So, thank you. So ID title, we need to put in a title, that's why. Task 1, thank you. Task 2, we'll try that. Is checked, and we want to change that to false and false. Otherwise, they'll be checked off. Thank you, Harmony, or Beck, for helping me out. Okay, let's save this and try again. So if I move too fast, because I was thinking on my feet rather than demonstrating, and it's still done it funny here, hasn't it? In the update task details, we had a task ID, we had a title, we wanted to change that to false. And then we want to save. That looks better. So now hopefully we can test out that test without having to flag again. So hopefully I haven't lost everyone. So test, this time we should be able to do it automatically. In the task ID, I use created by, okay, so if you do that, Justin, it should, well, if it works, that's okay, but you probably want the one created by the system instead. Let's have a go anyway. So there are my ones that failed. If I do the first one and test, let's see whether this works this time. Otherwise, we might have to do that. Yes, okay, Justin, let's try that. So I'm doing a great job of demonstrating how sometimes in Power Automate things don't work as you would expect them, and that you have to go in and do some troubleshooting. So thank you those that have helped out with the troubleshooting. So if yours came back like that again, let's go back to edit. Instead of task ID and ID, let's go back in to that dynamic content. Let's put in ID in here and see. We don't want the plan ID. We don't want the bucket ID. And let's give created by user ID a go. All working here with those changes. I couldn't find ID, that's why I used creative ID. Okay, so maybe it's just me, and that's the problem. I think it should be ID of the task rather than user created, because, yeah, looking at this, definitely, if it's the ID of the user who created this task, we're going to run into issues because every task you create it will think it's the same task and it will just keep on updating one task. So we definitely need that ID from there. I'm going to just get rid of my checklist because that should make this work for me. And I'll do some follow-up and try and troubleshoot what went wrong for me. So let's try one more time. Glad that some people have worked. Automatic with a recent trigger. I'll use the last one and test. Let's see, fingers crossed it works this time. Okay, so it's worked this time. I'm not sure why I didn't like creating those tests. Okay, Power Automate looks all right. Let's go in and see what it's done in Planner. So here I am. I'm going to refresh. I've got a load of tasks in here because even though the update didn't work, it still created those tasks for me. So the last one here should hopefully have my description. No, it doesn't. Let's check this top one. Yes, this top one here has my description. So my issue was that when it worked up to that first step, which did the what bucket, dates, etc. But it didn't give me any notes in the description. That last one that I did without the checklist allowed me to have that body preview in there with there. There is one thing to note about this particular one. If you unflag and flag the email again, it will treat it as a new task. So you do sometimes get duplication of tasks if someone goes into the email and flags an email and then unflags it as well. Okay, hopefully most people have got a successful flow. Again, apologies for that. Because I think that's probably about all that we're going to go through today. I am going to leave you with some resources though. So as we normally do, I'm going to point you towards our Tech Adoption YouTube channel. So we do have a few videos on here around Power Automate and some of the more complex things. Just on here, some of these, especially the ones with the white background, might be using the old Power Automate interface, which looks quite different. The actions should still be the same and the inputs should still be called the same, but it looks quite different. Another place you can get help when we're using Power Automate, especially when we're beginning, is our M365 support and collaboration team. We've got a channel called Process Automation. And in here is a bit hidden, but we do have a tab called Process Automation. And a few people from ICT Services worked, when it loads, on putting together some resources to help you get started. One of the things about Power Automate, which we saw today as well, is often you can run into errors, and sometimes what works for one person doesn't work for everyone. So this is a really good resource. You've got lots of links down the side here, including resources and links and how to get started as well. So if you're not already a member of the M365 team, I highly recommend that you join so that you can access those resources.